Hey everybody, what's up? What's good? What's shaking? What's up, end times bride? What's up, end time soldiers? I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you guys are excited for the things that are to come. I am. I'm very excited. I have been feeling lately like we are just living in the book of Revelation. Like the prophecies that have been spoken about are coming to pass before our eyes. Or even when you think about Matthew 24, right? The things that Yahusha talks about when he's going to be coming back, like what are the signs of the end of the age, right? He tells us about the things that are to come, the birth pains. And I feel like we're in it. We're in it. And I was thinking about like labor the other day because as somebody who's gone through it, right? We know that in Matthew 24, Yahusha talks about how when we see certain things, it's the beginning of birth pains, right? So it's like the start of a cycle, it's the start of a process, right? And the process does have an end, right? When you are in labor and you're going to give birth to your baby, right? The contractions that you start to feel, right? When it first happens, the contractions are kind of far apart, right? It happens here, it happens there, right? And, not a big deal, right? You don't really worry too much about it. But as the labor progresses, as you get close to your delivery, and likewise, as we're getting closer to our deliverance, right? um, the contractions actually get closer together, right? So when you have to go to the hospital, usually it's when your contractions are 5 minutes apart. That's when they say, okay, it's time to go to the hospital, right? Because the closer they get together and the more intense they get, the more severe they get, that's when you know that your baby is going to be delivered soon, right? And likewise, with the birth pains of this world, right? The disasters, the earthquakes that we're seeing happening, and the things to come, right? The volcanoes that are erupting, the asphalt that we're seeing from these volcanoes, the weird comets in the sky that are, orbiting our solar system that are not operating like normal comets do. We're seeing so many things, even when it comes to politically, we're seeing mandates be put into place. We're seeing agreements being made with Israel. We're seeing people in positions of power say that they are the chosen one. We're seeing people in positions of power being given the crown of the Prince of Peace from Israel, which is reserved for the Messiah, the Moshiach, right? So there's a lot of things going on. The Euphrates River is drying up continually as we speak, right? There's a lot of things going on. We're in the start of an El Nina season for, the weather cycle. There's a switch, right? That's happening. There's a lot going on, and it's really hard to keep up with everything, right? We know that a couple days ago, there was a peace treaty declared with Israel, and we're going to see what comes from that. But there's a lot of things that are basically put in place, and somebody just has to like push the go button, right? That's how I feel, anyways. We're here. We're here. The beast system is already set up, it's already in place, right? And so, again, us as believers, when we start to hear things, right, we don't operate in fear, we don't freak out, we just take heed and we prepare, just like the parable of the 10 virgins, right? There was 10 virgins who, bridegrooms who were waiting for, or sorry, brides who were waiting for their bridegroom to appear, to come for them, right? And as we know the parable, 5 of them, they got ready, they prepared. They knew that he was going to be coming one day, and they didn't know exactly when, but what they did was they prepared. They filled their lamps with oil so that when it was time for him to come and they had to go and follow him, they were ready, right? And then likewise, there was another 5, who did not prepare. They didn't heed the warnings. They didn't pay attention to, the signs. And even in the Bible, it talks about how, these are the things that we look at to dictate where we are and like what's going on. Even if you look at the biblical feast days, oftentimes they will start on the new moon cycle. So even when you go back to how things were done, right, in the ancient times with our ancestors, right, they would look to the stars and the moons, or the moon, to determine, right, when there were new seasons, when there was festivals happening or feast days happening. And those feast days resemble different things, right? And we just celebrated Yom Teruah, which is known as the day of shouting, right? It's the Feast of Trumpets, which is kind of like a preparation. It's like getting us, mentally and spiritually ready for the fact that like our Messiah is coming back. Yahusha is coming back soon. And the more we see these birth pains, right, happening around us, and the closer that they get together, or that they happen together, that's just a reminder that like our redemption is drawing near. Like, and it even says in the word as well that, for the sake of the elect, the time will be cut short. And again, I think about when you're in labor, right? And you're going through these contractions, right? In the beginning, you can handle it. The contractions are not too bad, right? Because you get a break in between. And then you have the next one, you get a break in between. But again, when it gets closer to the time of your delivery, the contractions happen very close together, and they're more intense, they're more painful. Sometimes you will have back labor at the same time as you're having everything else go on. And so it can be very painful, but God, Yahuwah, in his mercy, he knows that we would not be able to, deliver for like 10 days in that state. He knows that we wouldn't be able to just, be dealing with contractions every like, I don't know, minute apart, 30 seconds apart if it's that painful. He wouldn't make us endure that for, I don't know, 10 years. Can you imagine being pregnant and being in the process of active labor for like 10 years? I don't think anyone would survive that. And likewise, the time is going to be cut short for us because, for our sake, right? For our well-being, so we can make it through this, so we can persevere through it, because it is going to be hard. It is going to be intense. But with that said, guys, we're in an exciting time. And like, I've been obsessed with Joel lately, Joel 2. As you guys have seen, I've been posting different things. I feel like Yahuwah keeps showing me different things about Joel, and I'm like, yo, this is cool too. But you know how people talk about in Joel 2 verses 28, that, classic scripture where, in these crazy times that, Yahuwah is going to pour out his spirit upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, right? Super cool, super exciting. Definitely looking forward to that. And also, this is the part that I thought was really cool, because this reminds me of like the days of old, right? With Moses and Elijah, and like, I don't know, just, there's so many stories I could think of. But it says in verse 30, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Now, where have we seen this before? We've seen this in the first Exodus story, right? Where God, Yahuwah, was showing signs and wonders to the Egyptians, right? Prior to the deliverance of the Hebrews, of the Israelites, right? So before they were fully delivered, there was warnings, there was plagues, there was signs, there was wonders, right? To warn the people of what was to come, and to also show them the hand of God. This is the one true Elohim, right? Among all Elohim. This is the one, God, right? That is powerful, more powerful than even Pharaoh's sorceries and his magicians, right? And so because this beast system is in place right now, And because the enemy wants to roll it out so fast because he knows his time is short, it's going to be done soon, right? Because he knows that, he wants to get things going, he wants to put things in place, right? I feel like again, we're going to be in pretty intense situations. But with that said, it's because his time is running out, right? The kingdom of darkness is falling, it's crumbling, it's being exposed. Like, and this is the beautiful thing. People are waking up. They're waking up to how corrupt these systems are that have been in place for thousands of years, right? Where we have wanted a king, which goes back to, scripture. We have wanted a king to rule over us so badly, and we didn't realize how corrupt these kings were because we put our trust in man, and that's the problem. And to this day, we still do it. We still put our trust and our hope in man, when really we should remember that, Yahuwah is our deliverer. He is the one who will save us once again, just like he did in the Exodus, just like he raised up Moses to be a deliverer for the Hebrews, the Israelites at that time. Guess what? We know that in the end times, there is almost like a repeat happening where, again, leading up to our deliverance, right? We're going to see signs. We're going to see wonders. Very similar to the plagues of Exodus, right? Because again, if you start reading Revelation, you're going to realize that there's similar plagues, there's similar things happening. There's, seas turning to blood again. There's people having boils all over their body. There's darkness that comes to the earth. There's some type of weird locust, right, that is unleashed. There's basically going to be famines, right? There's things that overlap with the Old Testament. And again, Yahuwah is so, he's so detailed in how he works, in the sense that, we can understand, oh, this is the judgment of Yahuwah, right? And coming out on Babylon, right? So we haven't done a live in a minute. It's been maybe a month ago, but the last live that we did, we talked about how there's going to be a time when the pressures of this world ramp up, and we're gonna have to pick a side. We're gonna have to make a choice. Do we want to stay comfortable in Babylon, even though it's temporary, right? Is that what we want? Is that what we're going to try to, is that what we're going to try to do? Stay a part of the kingdom of Babylon because it's comfortable and we're used to it, and it's like, we think it's great? Or are we going to be willing to forsake the comforts, the false comforts of Babylon, and are we going to be willing to pursue Yahuwah instead, right? And again, it's coming, right? We're going to have to make this choice and figure out what we really believe in, what we care about the most, what or who really is our God, our Alua, right? Our Elohim. Who is it? Is it the world, the comforts of the world, or is it, the kingdom of heaven that is at hand, that is coming? But anyways, I'm excited though, because the encouraging thing is Babylon is falling, right? The system is being exposed, and like I said, people are waking up. We know too much now. We know how things work, even when it comes to certain files that were supposed to be released, right? And they weren't released. Well, I wonder why that is, right? But again, Babylon is falling, and because it's falling, guess what? Our redemption draws near. Yahusha is going to come for his people again that have been scattered throughout the world, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and he's going to bring his people together again back into the promised land that was given to us, right? Because of the covenant he made to our forefathers. And so, again, if you believe in him, if you trust in him, if you are trying to be obedient to his ways instead of the ways of Babylon, right? And if you have been grafted into that, maybe you're not a Hebrew, right? Maybe, excuse me, Maybe you are, again, grafted in. You are considered what would be like a Gentile who has come into the fold, the family of Yahuwah, right? He's going to come back for all of us, and we are going to dwell with him. We are going to rule. We are going to be satisfied, and we're not going to be lacking any good thing, right? And so again, the end of like Joel 2 talks about this, right? How, we're gonna come from afar with like children on our hips, and yeah, and we're gonna have the glory of Yahuwah on us. And I even put Ezekiel 36 on this slide, just again, just to reiterate what we have to look forward to, what's coming, right? All of the things we've had to lose in life, guess what? It's going to be restored. And again, even in Joel 2, it talks about that, right? And I will restore the years of the locust and what the cankerworm have eaten, right? It's coming. There is a restoration. There is a deliverance coming. And for those of us who know and who have kind of researched this, right, it's also known as the second Exodus, right? And we know in Ecclesiastes, Yahuwah says, what has been will be again. There is nothing new under the sun, right? And so the things that we have seen of old, they often point to the things to come, even when it comes to the feast days and stuff like that as well. It points to the things to come. It points to our hope. It points to our redemption. So we don't need to fear. We don't need to be afraid, because we're going to be with our Father soon, who loves us. And we're going to be out of this stressful world. We're not going to be a part of this beast system anymore. We're not going to have to deal with like the stress of, paying all these bills and like trying to find out what foods are healthy and not, and what's GMO, what's not. We're not going to have to escape the chemtrail. Like, there's going to be a day where we will dwell in the promised land, right? And so again, in Ezekiel 36:24-9, it says, "For I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries." And this is something that I don't believe has happened yet, which is why I don't believe that the creation of the state of Israel is this prophecy, right? Because we know that Israel and Judah they were separated during King Solomon's reign, when he basically started worshiping pagan gods, right? There was a split that happened. But again, in Ezekiel, in even the book of Jubilees, right? Other books as well, it talks about how, what was separated is going to be brought together again, right? But anyways, "For I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. And I will cleanse you from all of your filthiness, from all of your idols. And I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. And you will keep my judgments and do them." His statutes, not Babylon's, right? That's the distinction. That's the difference, right? Um, "Then you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. You shall be my people, and I will be your God, your Elohim. I will deliver you from all your uncleanness. I will call for the grain and multiply it and bring no famine upon you," right? So we gonna be good. No famine. We're going to be, anyways. So with all that said, I just want to talk about the digital ID, okay? So what is the digital ID? Is this new? Is this something that like, oh my gosh, it's just coming now, everybody freak out? Like, no, okay? I just want to be in reality, and I say these things not to freak you out, not to make you worried or concerned, but just to prepare you for the reality of where we are in this world, right? Where we are on the biblical timeline of things to come, or things that are here. And so let me see if I can interact with this. Just bear with me a moment here. So okay, perfect. It's working. So there's this article from the BBC News, and it basically says, as everyone has heard, right? This shouldn't be a surprise because everyone's talking about it. But Starmer says people will not be able to work in the UK without digital ID. And we know in Revelation, is it Revelation 13? Where it talks about, there's going to be a day where you have to take a mark if you want to be part of the system, right? Uh, so if you want to stay a part of the system that's going to allow you to buy and to sell and to, work, you're going to have to get a certain mark eventually. Now, I believe it's layered in the sense that, it is a spiritual mark. If you go through the Bible and if you start doing research, I'll just give this to you for homework if you want. Go through the Bible and look for the ways that God or Yahuwah says that there is a mark on his people, and look at what that mark is, right? And then in contrast, right, what is the mark going to be of people who take the mark of the beast, right? It's part of the beast system, right? And yeah, so anyways, so with that said, we know that again in Revelation, there is a time coming where we're not going to be able to buy and sell and work, right? And one thing that I think is very interesting, which we've talked about on our channel, is that we are in the age of propaganda. And in 2020, we saw that very clearly in the sense that this narrative was being rolled out back then, right? Again, what has been will be, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So in 2020, right, there was the introduction of this idea that if you wanted to keep your job, you had to get something, I'm going to call it the cupcake, okay, just because we're not supposed to be talking about this. But you had to get a cupcake in order to keep your job, right? Or to be able to go to the movie theater or to be able to sit inside a restaurant, right? And, a lot of people in 2020, part of the reason that they, I can't speak for everyone. Everyone has their own reason for why they chose maybe not to comply, right? One of the reasons, though, is because a lot of people knew that it was attached to something called a digital vaccine certificate. But I do want to mention one thing before I get into that. So Keir Starmer confirms plans for a new digital ID scheme aimed at tackling illegal working. So like we've talked about before on our channel, when people are giving you narratives and telling you there's a problem, you have to understand that there's people who are trying to create order out of chaos, right? It goes back to this whole Masonic ideology, right? Of control. That's how they get control. And so even in 2020, right? What was on the news all the time was like fear, 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 death count, death count, death count, right? And it was so intense to the degree that so many people did get this cupcake, because they were fearful, right, of what would happen if they didn't. But also, not only that, there was a lockdown, and because of the lockdown, it took away our freedoms that we have gotten so used to. And in order for people to want to get back to normal, they had to get this cupcake, right? And so it's very interesting because, again, the media was telling us there's a problem, there's something that's gonna kill you, and if you don't get the cupcake, you're gonna. And so people complied, right? Some people didn't. But again, there was already this subconscious narrative that oh, if you want to be a part of our society, you have to comply, right? And again, with the whole work thing, a lot of people have gone to court and they've gotten their jobs back, they've gotten compensation because it did violate human rights, right? And so with the time that we're in now, there has been this big push, again, a new narrative. And this is what I was talking about with, with when people start to bring ideas to you on the news, on the media, mainstream media, and they're telling you certain things, why are they wanting you to get used to certain ideas, right? And even when it comes to this whole illegal immigration thing, why have they been wanting us to get used to the idea that all of the problems are the illegals' fault? Why? We know that the people in power are the ones who have the authority to change things, right? For example, well, they want to talk about crime and the increased crime rate. For example, I'm just going to talk about Canada. Then why are they letting out repeat offenders when they could be locking them up, when they could be giving them harsher punishments? Why are they blaming that on illegal aliens who have nothing to do with that, right? Sure, maybe there are some that come in that, maybe they are from gangs or whatever, but the reality is, our systems itself are the ones creating these problems, and yet there's a people group that is being blamed for it. And we have seen this throughout history. We have seen this during the Holocaust. We've seen this during slavery, right? There was a people group who were blamed for the issues of the day, right? And yeah, and it's scary because of what came out of that. And even I won't get into that, but just right, you guys tracking with me? um, so again, so this is the article from the BBC that talks about it, right? And again, the issue here they're saying is because of illegal immigrants. Oh my gosh, illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants. Oh, they're ruining everything, right? That's the narrative. When the reality is crazy because all of the colonizers came here illegally anyway. So it's like, if you really want to talk about illegal immigration, it's like, well, how is it okay for you guys and not okay for, you know what I mean? It's just make it make sense, right? Anyway, so again, one reason, so they always have to give you a reason to do something, right? Even with 2020, there had to be a reason. They can't just bring in a cupcake and be like, everyone needs the cupcake, right? They have to create a crisis. They have to create chaos. They have to create panic and fear to get people to hop on board with something that maybe they would normally not be on board with. And this has to do with coercion, which is actually a form of manipulation. And I dislike it. I dislike it, right? If you've been in an abusive relationship before, you already know what coercion is, right? And so I dislike it. Um, you know, anyway, so it says, again, it's to tackle illegal working. Because, oh, how are we going to weed out who is who and who's like a citizen and who's not? How are we going to give resources to the right people if we don't have a digital way to identify that you are who you say you are, right? How do we know an illegal immigrant isn't claiming your name and taking, right? You know what I mean? Which is interesting. And so just keep all this in mind, okay? Um, yeah, so that is what has been in the news recently. But what I want to bring your attention to is something that actually launched in 2020, okay? And I know this is not going to make a lot of people happy. I'm sorry. I'm not here to tickle your ears and just tell you every single thing that you want to hear to make you comfortable. That's not my job, right? I'm to be obedient to God and to speak on things that maybe some people don't want to speak on, and maybe warn some people about, again, the reality of where we are in this world right now. So in 2020, there was um I guess, an alliance created. Technically, it was before 2020, but the website itself is called ID 2020. Okay, and so if you see here at the top right corner, it says Health Pass, right? The Good Health Pass. But can I scroll up? Why is it not letting me scroll? But it says digital ID is an essential component of digital public infrastructure that will create a foundation for digital trust and enable individuals to access essential government and commercial services. So, again, if you're wanting government services, this is the direction it's heading in. A health pass that is going to enable you to access these services, right? Um, I don't know why it's not letting me scroll. That's so bizarre. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to be able to scroll so you could actually read it, but it's okay. I read it for you. So in ID 2020, again, this was launched, right? And at the same time in 2020, something else was launched, right? We dealt with a pandemic, right? And you had to get a cupcake. And if you look at the cupcake, right, and what it stands for, certification of vaccine identification, right? And I know I'm not even supposed to say that word on here, but whatever. Um, but that's what was rolled out in 2020 because when you enrolled in in this program, you were given a QR code, right? A digital ID right away. And so there's an article that ID 2020 made called Immunity Certificates. If we must have them, we must do it right. ID 2020 Alliance releases white paper. So this article here is about, why, hang on, not this one. So this article here is literally about immunity certificates. Again, healthcare certificates. What's immunity? Immunization certificates, right? And so this talks about how, this is going to be used to protect privacy and civil liberty. It's so interesting, right? But again, this all happened in 2020. And, as we've seen things be rolled out, um, let's see if this will play here. I don't know if this is going to play, but I have a little clip. He talks about how there's going to be a QR code rollout that begins for the proof of the cupcake, right? So again, if you got the cupcake, you get a certificate, which it just said. Here, let me just go back. Okay, here we go. Sorry, it's been freezing. So it says, can I pause it? That the QR code rollout begins for the proof of the cupcake. So if you got this, again, no judgment, right? I understand there was a lot of coercion and pressure to get people to get this. So I understand, right? But you did get a QR code, which already enrolled you in this ID 2020 program of having a health pass that is also going to be part of your ID. And I know, actually, I won't say that, but you can see, right, when you have this, when you have the ID, the app, the QR code, right, you have to scan it. And if there's something wrong with it, it'll show you there's a problem, right? If the code is inaccurate or whatever. But if it works, it works. And so just wanting to bring, oh, okay. And so I just want to bring this up just again to show you that like we're already here. This is not new. This is not something that in 2025 just became like a concern. This is something that in 2020 a lot of people, figured out kind of what was coming and how, this was going to most likely be part of it. And so I just want to encourage you that like for the future, right? Just be on guard when you hear of other people who are really wanting to implement this system, um, this system where like everything you do can be tracked. Everything you do is connected to what you say online. And it's also very interesting because Canada just published a bill which basically allows them to remove like your internet and stuff like that if they don't like what you say online, right? So again, the more that you are connected to this, the more that there is surveillance. It feels like a dystopian, like sci-fi novel, but like this is where we are. And again, this is nothing new under the sun. We know that the Tower of Babel, right? There were different people who got together to try to defy God, and they wanted to be God, and they wanted to, be powerful without him. And likewise, part of this AI digital system is that, the the enemy, right? Satan, he wants to be all knowing. He wants to be able to have this knowledge. And so the technology, I believe, is put in place to help him in that, right? So that he can, essentially be all knowing without being all knowing, because we know that he's a counterfeit. He's trying to be like God, but he can't be God, right? So he has to work through loopholes to try to get to have the same characteristics and qualities that God has, that Yahuwah has, right? Because he is not all knowing, right? And that's why he has monitoring spirits that work for him. And that's why, again, that's why there is this push for everything being digitized so that everything can be tracked, everything can be monitored. Um, if they figure out who doesn't like you, right, they can cut off your access to services. And so, with that said, that's where we are at in the world. But I do want to encourage you and just remind you to just be aware of what people are saying and to really listen to even, again, people in positions of power to what they're saying, even if they say they are, you know, God fearing, if they say they are Christians, right? Because remember, back in the days of Hitler, right? He started his campaign with the whole traditional idea. He started his campaign as a Christian man, right? And we saw this other thing that took place over Germany where, the Christianity that was being used to get the support of the people, it was turned into something that was anti-biblical, right? In the sense that he was now using the Bible and the name of God, right, to hurt people, to treat people the way that the Bible says we should not treat people, right? And so again, you just have to be very careful because again, there's nothing new under the sun, right? You have to think about it. The Bible says that even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So what happens if you were to see an angel of light? You would be in awe. You would be captivated. They would look beautiful, most likely, right? It's everything that's gonna like an angel of light. Wow, like this is amazing. And so just be aware that just because something looks good and sounds good, that doesn't mean that it is going to be good, right? So we have to really, really, really pay attention to our discernment at this time because we know, for example, that the Antichrist is going to raise, right? He is going to do certain things when it comes to Israel, right? He's going to claim one thing. And like I talked about in my dream, my dream that I had about someone, okay, president, in the dream we talked about how there was this like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. There's like a, you know, the one that seems nice and seems like a normal person and says the right things to you and you're like, wow. But then there's like this beast, right? Who has ulterior motives. And it's funny because after I uploaded that dream that I had, I went on YouTube one day because I was just curious. I was like, I'm gonna look up if there's two, if anybody has said anything about there being two T words, okay? The president's name, right? And so I looked it up, two, and then the president's name, right? And when I saw the videos that came up, I was like, yo, I was like, so many people have talked about this and I didn't even know. Like, I just knew the dream that I had, right? And so, so there's been so many people. Ben Carson said that there's two presidents essentially. I'm trying not to say his name, but there's two Trumps, right? You know, The Simpsons did an episode where he was, I guess, looking in the mirror and he was speaking one way, but then his reflection was saying something different. And there's, I guess, been people on the news that have said there's two Trumps, and I was like, yo, I didn't even know, I didn't know. And so even with the time that we're in right now, you know, there's people who are saying one thing, right? And it's just, we just have to be on guard and just, again, be discerning. Not everything that looks good, again, that angel of light is, right?
We will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens, never happens. Hillary Clinton, all talk. Unfortunately, when there is action, it's always the wrong decision. Do you ever notice? In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
This parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Well, does that sound familiar to anybody? Does anybody remember this? Does that sound familiar?
That's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train beside vaccinated people and put them at risk.
Oh, wait a minute. What else does that sound like? Hang on.
So unless people have a medical exception, they will not be able to board a plane or a train in Canada if they are unvaccinated.
Ah, I see. So this isn't about migrants. It's not about labor. It's not about jobs. It's not about your security. It's not about online hate and fighting crime. It's about control, folks, and we're giving it up.
And so, yeah, so with that said, I just want to encourage you guys to keep going and persevering and being strong and just heed the word, prepare, listen to God, and, you know, whatever Yahuwah is telling you to do, just do it, be obedient. There's things that I've been working on in my life, and I'm not going to tell you guys on my channel because there's certain things that I just need to keep private. But with that said, I will say that the more we are obedient to him and the more that we are listening to what he's calling us to do, even me, I've been taking certain things more seriously because I do want to be set apart. I don't want to be, you know, part of Babylon, right? And so I have been, you know, trying to celebrate the feast days more and the Sabbaths. And am I perfect in it? No, because I'm learning as I go. I don't have like, you know, a bunch of people helping me in this. I'm literally just learning as I go. I'm finding videos, I'm finding resources. And thankfully, I have a couple people who celebrate with me. So that's been nice. But it's different. It's hard. But even in Revelation, it talks about how the dragon, how he comes after those who obey the commandments of God, right? So there is a very distinct group of people that he comes after in the end. And it also makes me wonder about lawlessness. Who is the man of lawlessness? What if lawlessness is not what we have thought it really is according to the Greco-Roman influence of the Christian church. What if lawlessness is not about just like chaos and like destruction and disaster and like evil, but what if lawlessness has to do with like a prophecy that is being fulfilled in this day, that the people of Yahuwah no longer follow his commandments, that instead they follow Babylon? So I've been thinking about that too, because I was like, oh, if that is the case, then we're not going to recognize the man of lawlessness when he appears, right? Because we're going to think that it's something different, right? So I'm just going to leave that with you for food for thought. But thank you for being here. If there's anything else you guys want to add, feel free to add your comments. I do have a Discord group. Feel free to join it. We can do like video chats in there too and talk about like some different things that maybe we can't really talk about on YouTube because it's very restrictive here. And even again, with the bills being passed in Canada, the censorship bills and stuff, it's a crazy time. So, yeah, so I haven't really been doing lives lately just because I've taken a break. There's been a lot going on in my life. I've been in like kind of a transition period. I've been like going different places, and Yahuwah has been providing some beautiful things. So that has been an answer to prayer. There's been a couple answer to prayers that like he did. And so, and again, like, I don't know, I just feel like, yeah, he's so good. And he's going to continue to take care of us. He's going to continue to be with us. But as we're in this time where the enemy is trying really hard to get everything put into place, remember, his time is going to be short. He's not going to be able to do this for like 5,000 years, right? Because the Bible tells us that for our sake, that God is going to put an end to it sooner than later. So remember, we're going to see more earthquakes. We're going to see more disasters. We're going to see more plagues. We're going to see repeats of some of the plagues that we've seen in Exodus come to pass in this day and age. And again, I think the media is preparing us for these things as well, because remember a couple years ago, there was like the demon face syndrome that they were talking about on the news, that a bunch of people apparently were seeing like demons and stuff. And I'm like, what are they preparing us for? And again, like with the things happening in like the solar system with these comets, right? 3I Atlas, that they thought was a comet, but now they realized it's probably not a comet because it's not moving like a normal comet would. It's not leaving the normal like elements that like a normal comet would leave as it's like moving across like the orbit, I guess. But then they just said it actually split into two, so now there's two. But even that, even 3I Atlas kind of reminds me of, I believe it's Revelation 19, where it talks about how there is an angel who picks up basically this big stone. Revelation describes it as like a millstone, right? And I looked up a millstone, and it's kind of like a cylinder shape, but it's kind of like flatter, right? And he throws it to earth. And as he throws it to earth, it lands in the sea. And when that happens, the is it the angel that says it or the people? But they go, Babylon is fallen, Babylon is fallen, and there's destruction that happens. But essentially, what I'm saying is that we're gonna see some things that like we cannot necessarily describe, that we can't really associate with like, oh, this is just a normal weather pattern, this is just a normal disaster. Again, we're going to see things that are going to be interesting, but we know that it's not for us. It's not for the people who believe in Yahuwah. It's not for the people who trust in Yahuwah and are obedient to him and who love others the way that he has told us to. Those things that are coming are not for us, right? It's for the wicked. It's for the evil. It's judgment time. It's judgment time, because even when you think about Revelation, right, when the cups are poured out, and there's something that happens, there's an event that happens, when we think about it being a cup or like a goblet, right, that's what Jesus drank that's what Yahusha drank, right, before he was killed on the cross, right? And the cup represented the wrath of God, right? That he was going to experience on that cross for us so that we wouldn't have to experience that wrath, right? And again, in Revelation, there's scriptures that talk about like creatures having the ability to sting people for like 5 months, but it only talks about how it's for those people who take the mark of the beast. And so, with that said, with the time that we're in, if people are telling you again that you have to get something to go back to normal, to work, to keep your job, to um, really think about it, right? If they're going to bring in what happened in 2020 again, and they're going to bring in lockdowns again, just think about it, right? Um, is it worth it? And yeah, so I kind of believe that we're going to have another lockdown. I believe that we're going to have 2020 on repeat again. But I also believe in the middle of it that we're going to see like disasters because God is going to be like, like you're trying to control my people. Again, the same way with Pharaoh. It's like you're trying to control my people, you're trying to oppress my people. Like I see what you're doing, and he is going to stop it, right? But the same way that like he, took the wheels off the chariots when they were like following the Hebrews, right? In the Exodus story, right? It's like Yahuwah was the one who did it, who like shook everything up that they were trying to do. In the same way with the Tower of Babel, right? He stopped, sorry, he stopped the tower from being completed, right? Like altogether, he stopped it. And he sent confusion among the people, and now we have different languages today. But, Yahuwah is the one who eventually is going to say, not on my watch, right? And so, again, we're going to see things. It's going to be crazy, but it's going to be so exciting and interesting because we're going to see, again, Yahuwah doing amazing things. We're also going to be seeing people, his people doing amazing things, saying amazing things, sharing dreams and visions, and right, like, and I do kind of feel like this is the time we're in as well, right? And so yeah, so I don't believe in a rapture. I don't believe we're going to be raptured from what is coming. I believe that if you pay attention to the scriptures, there is instruction in it for these times for us, right? There is very clear instructions. For example, when it talks about the Antichrist sitting in the temple, right? When it talks about that, right? There's an instruction after that, right? And so there's been times in this world where we read stories about things that have happened in the past, right? We read these crazy stories, we see these miracles, wow, right? But remember, there was a time for them when their stories were not written down either, right? Where they experienced these things firsthand, and they didn't have the writings that were going to explain their situation, right? And so for us, I'm so sorry about the noise, by the way, guys. But so likewise, there's going to be for us, right? We're going to be in something new and different because it's going to be different, right? And we're going to see the two witnesses, and whatever your understanding of the two witnesses is going to determine like what you believe we're going to see. But we know that the two witnesses, they are going to be prophets of God who have the power to bring down like fire from heaven, like the days of Elijah, right? Or to turn, uh, part the seas, right? Like Moses. Like they're going to have these abilities. And so again, we're going to see crazy cool things, and they're going to do it, right? Again, like Moses, when he was raised up as a mouthpiece for God, right? To warn the people, let my people go that they may worship me, right? These prophets in the end times, these two witnesses, right? They are going to do similar in the sense that they are going to be God's mouthpiece, Yahuwah's mouthpiece against Babylon. And they are going to warn them of the things to happen. And then again, like Moses, they're going to do signs and wonders. But the crazy thing is, because we live in a world that is so focused on wanting to hear the great, comfortable things of life, in the Bible, it talks about how people are going to hate the witnesses. people are going to hate the last two witnesses, right? To the point where when they die, after all of their work has been completed, because they're going to be sent here for a very specific mission and purpose, right? Some people believe that the two witnesses are going to be two people distinctively, right? Some people think it's Moses and Elijah. Some people think it's other people. Some people believe that it's going to be the church, right? Representative by the two lampstands and the olive branch, right? Because again, we're grafted into his family, but then the candle stands, right, or the candlesticks, they are the ones that have the light of Yahuwah in them, right? And then that light spreads, right? But anyways, so whatever you think that is, all I know is we're going to see some crazy things. We're going to see some cool things. So don't be discouraged. We are in such an exciting time in history. And again, what's the worst that can happen? Death, where is your sting, right? Right? Like point blank. So anyways, that's my video on this. So if you guys, again, have more feedback that you want to add to it, please do. I do believe that we're going to be heading into another lockdown soon. I'm hoping not. And honestly, let's all just pray that that's not the case. Because, yeah. I mean, it was fine in 2020. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still getting over something. But yeah, so with that said, just know that Yahuwah is going to be with you. He's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. In the book of John, it talks about the end times and how, again, we're going to see these birth pains, but also that, like, when we are delivered up to the courts, let me read it here, that it's going to be our time to be witnesses. So remember that when we're in these uncomfortable situations, you know, we are born, we are called for such a time as this, right? We are needed. Our voices are needed. Our light that we carry, right, which is the light of Yahuwah, we carry that. This dark world, this darkness, right, needs to hear it, right? And Yahuwah is going to use us to be in places to speak these things, to preach the gospel, right, so that people can repent. Let me just find it here. I just read it yesterday, and I think it was 21, but I'm not sure. And I will say on that note too, like, I've already been seeing that, because with me, I went to court, couldn't get it. I had a lawyer at first, but I tried to get another one after. I couldn't find one. I had to represent myself. But now I realize in retrospect why Yahuwah had me do that, because when I was there, I preached on the stand to the judge, to everyone in the room, the people who were against me, testifying against me, telling them that judgment is coming, right? But then also sharing the gospel, right? Reminding them that, like, you guys still have a chance, right? Yahuwah loves you. And, but again, I had to go through a really horrible situation that was not fun, not comfortable, scary, right? And Yahuwah was with me, his Holy Spirit. It helped me to know what to say in those moments when I literally did not know what to say. And the scripture tells us this too, that he is going to be with us in these moments. He's going to speak for us. He's going to be a witness for us. And I have another friend who went to jail. It was so dumb. He shouldn't have even gone to jail for the reason he did. It's so stupid. But anyway, so he was in jail. But even when he was there, he told me that he was ministering to people while he was in jail. And I'm like, oh, that's why God had you there, right? And so sometimes God is going to put us in situations that don't make sense from, like, our understanding, but from the understanding of Yahuwah and what he's doing. He has us there for a reason, because there's specific people that he needs to reach, that he needs to talk to, and even again, he needs to even warn them before the things are going to come, right? And so hang on. I know it's like a echo of Matthew 24, but oh, I know. I know. Why can I not find it? What is going on? It is. Oh, it's Luke 21. That's why. Sorry, guys. Okay. So it says, um, again, this is kind of echoing Matthew 24. It says, in verses 12, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Again, we're on a mission. There's a reason and a purpose why these things are happening, okay? And it shall turn to you for a testimony. And then it says, settle it in your hearts not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist. But I believe in John, that's when it talks about this is your time to be witnesses. Like it says pretty much the same thing, but then that is added right after. This is your time to be witnesses. This is why you are here. This is why you are called. This is why you are in this situation, because you have to reach these people that Yahuwah wants you to reach. So, anyways, with that said, love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you guys are just filled with excitement and encouragement about the things to come, the ways that Yahuwah is going to work through us, through the church collectively. And yeah, our deliverance is on the way. Our deliverance is on the way. So be excited. That's an encouraging thing. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.